And then we don't sleep at night because we're so worried and stressed about all of it. And then we get up exhausted and we do it all again. And it just kind of it does break my heart because
Hmm.
it's hard to learn to be reflective and then practice reflective like new changes in our behavior. But the other side of it is so rewarding and so settling and calming to our nervous system and to, our relationships with those we care about, that it always baffles me at the resistance to it when the reward could be so great.
It's so fun when you can sit down and have a conversation with someone who really just jives with everything you also believe in. And my guest today, Lori Woodley-Langendorff, is one of those people to me. Lori is an educator at heart with a background in school counseling and a master's in educational psychology. She's the co-founder of All It Takes, a nonprofit that she started with her daughter and now runs with her son. And Lori is also the author of SEL Muscle Mastery, 6 tools for building resiliency and connection in schools and communities, where she shares her SEL muscles framework, something that we're going to dive in today in our conversation. She's been working with schools and communities for years, helping kids and grown-ups who support them build real emotional intelligence, connection, and purpose, especially in today's world where so many students are feeling disconnected. You're going to love what Lori has to say. Her perspective is grounded, it's empowering, and it's just what we need in education right now. So get ready for an inspiring conversation. Hey friends, welcome to Enjoy Teaching Again, the podcast for teachers who love the work but need a little spark to bring the joy back. I'm your host, Elizabeth Peterson, classroom teacher, arts integration specialist, and passionate educator of over 25 years. If you're overwhelmed by behaviors, disengaged students, and long, exhausting days, you are not alone. But together, we can turn things around and you can teach with confidence and purpose again. So locate that cold coffee of yours, find your favorite pen, I know you have one, and let's dive in. It's time to get inspired and enjoy teaching again. So hello, Lori. I'm so glad to have you on the podcast.
Oh, thank you, Elizabeth, for having me. I'm super thrilled to be here, and this conversation is near and dear to my heart. So appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Oh, absolutely. And you said, near and dear to your heart. And I know that it's true because of all the amazing work that you have been doing over the years. So let's just jump into it. Tell me a little bit about you, yeah, your role in education and the work that you're doing with All It Takes. Tell us a little bit about that too.
Oh, wow. Almost 60. So that's a lot of decades, but I'll try to make it super fast. But my background is I was a school counselor, still am. I still carry my PPS here in California as a school counselor. So I was in schools with kids on campuses for about 28 years. About 15 years ago this month, I started a nonprofit, All It Takes, with my daughter. Grew it then she got busy, went off and did her life, and grew it with more my son, who is our artistic director and editor and director of our films and that whole arm. But really, I started All It Takes in a concern in two reasons. One, a
Yeah.
growing concern for what I was seeing as a counselor, both from the adult and the student side of education.
Mm-hmm.
Counselors are all student driven, but the adults in their lives are affecting them. So it
Oh,
was like a
yes.
combination on both sides. And then also, what I was doing on my campuses was kind of outside the box, super popular usually with my schools and with my principals, my bosses, not always with my colleagues because I was out of the box. I was doing things like that took me away on weekends with students, and we were just doing
Wow.
some things that really I saw a profound difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew that what I was creating and accomplishing with my own students on my own campus just needed to be bigger and more. So
That's
I took
awesome.
on that leadership edge, which really was never how I started being a counselor. Could never have predicted that I would be where I am now, but that's how I got here.
Isn't that the fun of life, isn't it?
It
And
is.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad
And
I
tell me,
didn't have a direct plan.
that's awesome. Kind of like went with it, and that's where your heart and your path has led you, which is really
Yeah.
exciting. Tell me, what age group of students did you work with?
Almost all of my years were actually K-8, with most of them 6-8. So 22 years I was in middle school, and then the other 8 years or so, um, between hours and all the different times, the other years were in elementary.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. And boy, do we need counselors in our schools, and do we need quality counselors who are willing to do some of the amazing things that I'm sure you are doing
Yeah.
that now has translated into all it takes, right?
Yes, that's exactly what happened. And about 7, 8 years ago, I left a school site to do this full time, but I literally am still working with educators and students and educational leaders, sometimes in policy. It's not really where I go a lot, but I have
Mm-hmm.
some colleagues who are there. So once in a while, I find myself in policy Sacramento conversations. And um, so I'm not in the trenches the same way as I was for 28 years, but
Right.
I'm on the ground. I make sure that even as the leader, the writer, the developer, almost all of our training programs,
Mm-hmm.
I make sure that I'm in the field. I'm
Yeah.
with my trainers,
Mm-hmm.
right? I want to know what kids are saying right now. I want to know what educators are dealing with. We do a lot of film interviews from the trenches, not the people who are talking about the trenches, but are
Yeah.
people who are living in them. Whether
Yes.
that's the young people we serve, or the educators that we serve, or who are serving them, or the
Mm-hmm.
parents. So I try definitely, I don't try. It's a big commitment to be in the
In
trenches.
it.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
can't do that as much as I used to, because then I can't do the other things I'm doing, but it's still a
Yeah.
big priority.
Of course. Yeah. No, that's so important. And I know that teachers really appreciate that when we
Yeah.
can have people come in who are really still have that solid connection with what's actually going on. And that brings me to, this next question, because we teachers are seeing so many difficult behaviors in our classrooms, things like isolation, disengagement, acting out. And is that what you're noticing as well? And are there some ways that we can spot some of these as like early signs before it becomes a bigger and bigger issue in our classrooms, and maybe even even in a grander scheme,
Yeah.
like in our schools as well?
Well, look what's happening on some of our school campuses. Like, we can't
Mm-hmm.
not name that people there's horrible, devastating things happening on school campuses in places that are
Absolutely.
supposed to be sanctuary safe,
Yeah.
right? And so this is a big problem, right? But we
Huge.
can start with our own space, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important that we do. Specifically to your question about how do we spot it, so it's a big part of my work. I think that from I saw the concerns. Counselors saw the concerns long before the pandemic. So
Oh,
we already were on a
absolutely.
dive towards mental health problems,
Mm-hmm.
behavior escalation. Like the last few years of my school, my on-campus stuff, I was at a K-8, really primarily working with the middle school, but my office was in the main office. So we had all the littles and all the everybody, right? We had 4-year-olds to 14-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
And there were kids doing things who were third graders and kindergartners that were just really unheard of for like my entire career. So now, post-pandemic, post the forced isolation that so many people lived with, um, what we're seeing is the escalation of behaviors from those times. But then also, I think it's important that we remember this wasn't new because of the pandemic. The pandemic just put some icing on the
Mm-hmm.
top of a problem that was already cooking and brewing. That's my observation. That's what the research says. That's what my teachers who I interview say.
Yes, I was going to say that's what all teachers would absolutely agree with. We've
Yeah,
seen
so
this
we
coming.
can't put just a lens on the pandemic. I think it's important because people are at this time trying to move away. Well, the pandemic's over, we're moving on. Well, it wasn't just
No,
the pandemic, right?
no.
So for me, it's important to note that. I think our educators don't have to change everything about what they do. They don't have to change the curriculum that they teach, but they can change a little bit about their openness to perception.
Mm,
their openness to, and for lots of us, that's training. It's not just do this, a finger point, a PowerPoint slide with a bunch of bullets on it. Do this, don't do this. Like it's sort of like live by the golden rule. Well, we
Hmm.
all know it. Do unto others, right? We all know it,
Yes.
but it's not actually driving behavior.
Right.
And so I feel like training that is experiential, this is the different thing that I am like that we actually get in our own self. We
Yep.
get aware of what triggers us and start to notice what happens within us. That's a good thing for us to do, actually, super
Hmm.
healthy.
Hmm.
But when we get really clear on noticing ourselves, we can start noticing that kid who walks in the door really solemn.
Hmm.
We can get used to seeing the kid who starts to get really antsy in their seat, and you kind of know that's an escalating child, and we can de-escalate before the escalation happens. For me, those are the important things. Like, how do you prevent it or sort of sideline it, right? Like, maybe we can't all the way prevent it, but we can alter it.
Yeah.
We can shape shift it, right? We can shape
Yes.
shift a fit that's coming into um, taking what I call a take five space in the back corner where they put on some headphones that's just got some quiet music and they can just draw or they
Hmm.
can, do, like, I don't know, like puzzles or, fill in color by number. Like there's so many things teachers can have that I think can de-escalate before we actually have the chair flying across the room
Yep. Which
before
many
the
of us have
before the incredibly
experienced.
hurtful words come
Yep.
spewing out of a student's mouth when we're like,
Hmm.
you know what? I'm feeling like you're not in a like maybe this isn't your best morning. What do you need from me?
Hmm.
Like it doesn't take that much time and the time is such a big concern for teachers and I understand. But when you measure time saved because we do this versus time spent trying to right a sideways ship,
Hmm.
where the ship is sinking sideways and it's tipping and the winds are blowing and the whole classroom's chaos and we spend 20 minutes not teaching, 20 minutes trying to get people to do what we
Hmm.
want. And then we step into things and behaviors that we don't feel good about.
Right.
Shaming, threatening, all the things that are coming out of our mouth that we're like, yeah, that's not great teaching, but I don't know what to do right now.
Yes. And I think you're so spot on is about, the teachers becoming self-aware. And that is hard because I've been working with teachers for so many, I am one, I have colleagues, but if, teachers love to reflect, but it's hard to reflect and really have an eye-opening moment where you're like, okay, I maybe need to shift how I'm approaching my classroom or thinking about things. And, I talk a lot about these proactive strategies, like kind of what you were saying, and being able to get things before you have to get to the point where you're reacting.
Yeah, yeah, or somebody feels unsafe, or you
Hmm.
feel unsafe, or your, level of trigger rises, and then really we step into something that puts us, like if we dig deep enough, it's really about us. I'm feeling not proud, I'm feeling unsuccessful, I'm feeling defeated and exhausted, and then those feelings drive certain behaviors, and those behaviors we feel bad about, and then we go home in a bad mood, and then we treat the
Hmm.
people we love the most the worst.
Yeah.
And then we don't sleep at night because we're so worried and stressed about all of it.
Yep.
And then we get up exhausted and we do it all again. And it just kind of it does break my heart because
Hmm.
it's hard to learn to be reflective and then practice reflective like new changes in our behavior. But the other side of it is so rewarding and so settling and calming to our nervous system and to, our relationships with those we care about, that it always baffles me at the resistance to it when the reward could be so great.
Brings such a good point. Yes. Taking that first step and really getting into it. Yes, that first step can be a challenge, but it's so necessary. And I wanted to take a moment in the middle of my amazing conversation with Lori to talk to you, my dear listener, because I know that what she just talked about, you have felt. Maybe you are feeling it even today. That exhaustion, the feeling of defeat, the constant battling of behaviors. But the thing is that there is a way to take that first step and find clarity and how you can reset your classroom. And that is exactly what we do inside the Classroom Reset group coaching program. Inside the Classroom Reset, you'll find the tools, the strategies, and the support you need to transform your teaching and feel like your best teacher self again. This is a group coaching program unlike any other, where classroom management, student engagement, and social emotional skills all come together with a splash of creativity, all while keeping things focused on you. Join me now at theinspiredclassroom.com/reset, and let's hit that reset button together. Now, you refer to SEL as social emotional literacy, which I think is so great because it puts an emphasis on the idea that these are skills that we really need to develop a true understanding of. So, how can this idea of social emotional literacy really help young people with some of these behavioral challenges? And maybe you even have some practical ways that schools and families and teachers can respond to that.
Yeah, thank you. So I think I like to call it social emotional literacy because as
Mm-hmm.
a counselor, as a woman who cares deeply about kids and those who serve them, I think that these are skills that we need to get so good at, we don't have to think about them unless we fall down, right? Like, so once you know how to read, you know how to read. And then when you
Mm-hmm.
read a harder, and you don't think about reading, you just read, right? And
Yeah.
so, but then when somebody hands you something a little tougher, you have to think about it. You might struggle through it. You might interpret it a little differently than it really was meant to be. And you struggle through it a little bit and then you get it. So same thing with social emotional literacy, like struggling through disappointment and how I handle myself with resilience when I either disappoint myself or somebody's disappointed in me, or I'm disappointed, like somebody, I've disappointed someone.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of defending that, where that's not a high SEL literacy. That's not, defensiveness is not literate in an
Mm-hmm.
SEL skill. But being able to look at it and be like, wow, that didn't go really well. I can apologize for that. I can clean it up. Um, I can ask for a start over, what I call do-overs, actually. And those kinds of behaviors practiced over time make us literate in the kinds of skills that will make us competent adults who can navigate tough situations and be a part of employment teams that people want us to be a part of,
Mm-hmm.
help us have relationships that, we're going to feel good about, right?
Yep.
So for me, that's where the literacy comes in, as you spoke to it. Like these are skills that just are part of us.
Mm-hmm.
You don't, you notice when you have a skill breakdown, not notice when you did a skill right.
Yes.
Right? You're right.
That's when you
Because
know it's in you, right?
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, oh, I said thank you for the first time in a month. I'll notice that one. Right? No, no, let's notice a time when you're like, oh, I don't think I thanked that person for that. I can't fix that right now because we're driving away or whatever. But
Yeah.
but that's what I noticed, because then noticing that makes me a better person, because it makes me want to do it again the next time and not leave somebody feeling used or taken advantage of.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. And that's what we really need to be striving for our kids.
Right? Exactly.
Yes.
But
Yep.
then what about us, right? Think about
Hmm.
that. Like, how proud are we when we go home and we know that even if we didn't change the circumstances for a certain kid's life, we know that we were a safe landing spot for that student, even
Hmm.
if things still went sideways.
Hmm.
But there's something education, I don't believe educators go into education because they don't care.
True.
Educators are carers, right?
Yes.
They're servants, right? Right. We're in selfless service.
Hmm.
Um, and so when that service feels interrupted or unsuccessful, the people who are taken out first the most is us. And then when we're taken out, we tend to not treat others well. That's just kind of a human thing.
Yeah.
Or we pretend we are, and everybody can see through us. And then we lose our credibility and we
Mm-hmm.
lose our honor, really.
Mm-hmm.
And people are, especially our teenagers today, like they're like, you're saying this, but you're doing this. No, I can't
Right.
respect you.
Right. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So I think you asked, I'm sorry, I spoke a lot
No,
about
that's good.
tips.
Yeah.
So I think a few things, one of the biggest ones is model and then allow for do-overs,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like train them ahead of time. Look, we're going to build this literacy in this classroom. We're going to work on resilience until we all are demonstrating resilience in a way that is new for us. So wherever you are, whether you can't handle a little skin knee, or you break down when you don't get the grade on a written assignment that you wanted, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is, wherever you are with resilience, and whether I am as the adult in the room, when we break down, when we don't get it, and we start to escalate in behaviors that are really not going to serve us and grow us,
Mm-hmm.
then someone can notice in a really powerful and supportive way. And we can offer or ask for a do-over. Like, let me try that again. I think it's so powerful, and I see it work all the time.
Mm-hmm.
As a teacher, barks an order, it just comes out as a big frustrated bark,
Yeah.
right? And you're
Yes.
like, oh, that probably didn't feel great for all of you out there. It didn't feel great coming out of my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Could I have a do-over?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what are kids, anyone, your colleagues, wait, like, sure,
Yeah.
you can have a do-over. And
Yep.
then you have a moment to reframe it, to think about it. And then when it comes back out, it's such a great modeling, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
modeling of accountability,
Mm-hmm.
modeling of vulnerability, modeling of good behaviors to flip it around and then speak it, modeling of taking a pause,
Mm-hmm.
thinking through things. And then, so for me, that's one tip that I think is really powerful, kind of in a lot of situations.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Absolutely. Yeah. Modeling behavior is right up there. I mean, we really need to start thinking about that. And you also touched on something else that I really love focusing on when I'm talking with teachers and myself, because I'm still in the classroom myself, and that is to be explicit with what you're doing and what you're teaching, and really, keeping in mind that we are helping our students to learn these SE literacy skills, to really and be able to have them practice these things in a safe place, which becomes our classroom and our spaces in the school.
Right.
So yeah.
And the safest places are the ones that were shared, where we're sharing our humanity,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Where our humanity in all its glory and all its weaknesses and all of its, unique genius and areas for growth, when we're able to share it, accept it, not accept people saying, well, that's just who I am, so I get to just call you whatever I
Right.
want to call you. No, no,
Yes.
we're not going to accept anything less than your greatness.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you say, well, I'm just this way, and I tell people what I think, and I say terrible things to teachers or call them words or names, or
Yep.
it's like you might say those words, but I will never agree with you that that is your unique genius and your greatness. So I will stop you and we will do it over, and I will commit to you finding the unique, special human that you are, so
Mm-hmm.
that when you leave my space, you're believed in a way that rises you to your better human.
Great. I love it. Well, I'd like to talk about technology for a moment because
Yeah.
it's such a huge part of our kids' lives. So, do you have some ideas on how, students can develop a healthy relationship with it? Maybe using some of the SEL strategies that will help them just kind of balance screen time with real world connection.
Well, what I really experience is that we cannot tell them, we have to show them.
Mm-hmm.
There's just nothing, there's so much telling in this world, and they don't listen,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, it's not good for you. They already know that. They do. If you, I mean, maybe not, it's a 5-year-old who's got their mom's phone in their hand, but if as soon as you have a phone, you sort of know
Yep.
that the amount of technology you have and you're using is not good for you. It's interrupting your sleep. It's interrupting your homework because you're just thinking about what's next and what's happening on TikTok or what's happening here, right? Like, so I think knowledge is there. What
Yep.
I don't think is there is adult managing of it.
Mm-hmm.
When we are young and we're two, we make sure we hold hands with our parents when we cross a street. Like we know how, as the adult, to keep a child safe from a car. We
Mm-hmm.
know how to keep a child's hands off the fire on the stove. You know what I mean? We know how
Yeah.
to teach our children to be cautious of people who approach them. Hopefully, we're not scaring them about other people, but we're having them learn to be cautious. Well, we're not, the whole technology thing happened so fast, and I think it's also so addicting for our kids that their
Mm-hmm.
fight to manage it and maintain a stronghold on it becomes like overwhelming for parents, right?
Yep.
And so I think we just sort of gave up in too many ways. That's what I think. And the
Yeah.
way that we're going to bring it back is I do like, and I know that kids don't love this, but I do like that schools are putting boundaries on phones now. And there's
Yeah.
districts across the nation. I don't know that it's any consistency. Maybe there's a couple states I've read about in the distance that have like the whole state has said no phones in classrooms, but I know there's a trend towards that. And I
Mm-hmm.
also understand the fear, right? So
Yep.
there's answers out there and people are finding them. And I do think that we have to adult over our children.
Mm-hmm.
That's not authoritarianism. I'm a big collaborator. I'm a big proponent of collaboration. I'm a big proponent of let's talk about the fact that this is not good for you. And we as a family or we as a school are going to put some boundaries in. Here's why boundaries are not negotiable, but how and what they are, let's talk about together.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's a really big one for me. And I think the way that we have to first we have to do it, and then we have to show kids the value of it.
Mm.
Not just telling them. That's kind of the difference between what I'm saying and old school parenting and education, right? Like 20
Yep.
years ago, right?
Yep.
Yeah, like it's just this is the way it is,
Yeah.
right? And it's like nobody gets a say. And I'm like, no, they should understand here's the boundaries. This is what we're going to do. But let's talk through best practices and getting that done.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. And then how do you show them? So one of the things that my work is very experiential, right? So one of the things we do really well, in fact, I had 100, basically 100 kids in the mountains on Saturday for our 15-year anniversary. Wasn't just
Wow.
kids though. I had 5-year-olds to 75-year-olds.
Oh, wow. How
And
exciting.
it was amazing. It
Yeah.
was amazing. That whole day, and they were from all over, so they didn't know each other. They came as family units, some singles, and everybody just didn't have their technology out, even the adults, which surprised me. Like I
Mm-hmm.
had one student who it was really hard, and his family, it was a family day, so I wasn't policing it, right? Like I
Right,
would have
right.
if it was a school field trip like we do all the time, but people sank into being with each other. They actually felt the value. The feedback I'm getting now post program is it was amazing to see that just really together going one step further gets us where we want to go.
Mm,
So I think there's this we need to set a boundary and have a standard, but then we have to demonstrate value that is real for them and their bodies and their minds and their hearts that says this is why connection's important.
mm-hmm.
We want to tell them why connection's important, but all
Yes.
they can hear is blah, 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 you took my phone. Blah, 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 you took my phone, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and so then there's just a power struggle.
Yeah. And this would be a good moment to remind ourselves that connection is the antidote to depression. And if we can really feed connection, like what you're doing with your groups and, what we're trying to accomplish in our classrooms, we can really put a dent in someone's hurt, which I
Yeah.
think is just so powerful.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have
that's great.
one of our films says, one of our experts, Dr. Pamela Cantor, says trust is the antidote to trauma. Right.
Awesome.
And you just said it your way, right? Like, but
Yeah.
connection is the antidote to
Depression.
depression
Yeah,
or anxiety.
exactly.
Or, like connection, well, trust is a component of true connection, right? You don't have true connection without some trust.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
connection. But we can't just talk about connection. We have to put this down too,
Yes.
and then connect. And what's happening right now, I think, with our teachers and many adults,
Hmm.
is we're becoming less and less comfortable with connection.
Mm.
But we want
Yes.
our kids to do it, and we're seeing the difficulties that are arising when they don't do it, but
Hmm.
we're so uncomfortable with it ourselves that we don't really know the skills to really not just teach connection,
Hmm.
but create connection.
Yes. Yeah. I have a feeling that little conversation about technology, that could be a whole other
Just cut it out, make it
episode,
its
right?
own little TikTok. Yeah, I can
It's
just cut
so
that piece
true.
out, put it on
But
TikTok.
it absolutely is just connected with everything else. And I think there's some really good points that people we all need to really consider. So thank you for all of that talk. So and a challenge that so many schools are having is just actually not having enough mental health resources. And one thing that I do stress with the teachers that I work with is that, this is not to make you a therapist, because you're not a therapist, you are a teacher, but there are appropriate ways for teachers to address these things and help to just create some trusted spaces. So, what are some ways that we as teachers, specifically, because that's mostly who's listening right now, is how can we teachers create these trusted spaces where kids are safe, they feel safe to open up and get some of the support that they need?
So I think what you just said, Elizabeth, is one of the keys. Safe for them to open up, but that doesn't happen unless our teachers open up.
Mm,
And I think that I hear a lot when we go into a training, right? That my teachers are worried about storytelling, they're worried about giving up too much, they're worried
hmm.
about losing their credibility and authority. And I'm like, powerful relationships are what builds your credibility and authority,
Hmm.
right? And our students, especially today, they need to know that you're human.
Hmm.
And so for teachers who say, well, I can't share everything. And of course, as a counselor for decades, I'm like, I had teachers who shared way too much with their kids. And you probably know the same. And teachers
Yeah.
who were like, I'm not even going to tell them anything, right? But
Yes.
then
Yeah.
they wear what's going on in their life on their face and their moods and their attitudes and all of it. So they don't tell their kids anything, but they wear it. They
Hmm.
spill it all over their kids, right? Um, and then the ones who overshare. So, like, think about it from a very practical mindset. I get called practical a lot. Like, look, it's really important for you to be able to walk in a classroom on a morning that was a hard morning and say, wow, this was not my best morning. I'm actually not all the way together. I'm going to ask you for 5 minutes of grace. Could you just kind of get started? I'm going to do everything I can to reset so you get the better part of me
Hmm.
because it wasn't my best morning. Now, you didn't have to share that someone asked you for a divorce the night before, or you got the
So true.
medical diagnosis that you don't want. Like, I'm
Yeah.
talking real hard things,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
teachers are real people, and those real hard things happen in our lives. We have teenagers who run away. We have teenagers who are on drugs. We have, relationships that fall apart. We have moms and dads who have dementia. We have, houses lost and job moves. And like life is lifing for every one of us. And the
Hmm.
kids know it. And,
Hmm.
when I grew up, I wasn't allowed to speak to it. But that is not the way our kids are growing up now. They see it, They feel it, they're told it. We've raised our kids to have some opinions, to have a say. We've given them language so early now that they can language us and make us wonder if we're even sane. Like, we're really getting convinced that we should give them extra recess when they haven't earned it, right?
Yeah.
They're so
So
good.
true.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
I think it's just super important for us to really pay attention to what we're doing and how it matches what best practices are to do with kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's again, Elizabeth, it's a reflection we talked about right at the beginning. None of it really changes if we're not willing to even just put a toe in it.
Yeah.
I like to tell teachers, right, you don't have to start big, just one little tweak.
Yeah.
And then when you get the result that you're not expecting, the good result, you might be like, oh, that was one toe, let me try two.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll put a whole foot in,
Mm-hmm.
right? But, I don't think we have to start big, but we do need to start.
Mm-hmm.
And Um, that's what I think we need to do right away. Because what we know is that trust and connection earns credibility. It solidifies our authority as someone they can trust. Our job is to teach them, to keep them safe. They'll feel that. But when they don't feel emotionally safe, they don't feel physically safe. And they're
Yep.
just not as willing to learn from you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we
Well
don't have to be
said.
a therapist to do that.
100%. You just got to be a human.
Just have to be a human,
Yep.
and yeah, and a human who can see themselves as a human for all of those gifts and all of those frailties.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Love that. Well, Lori, tell me about your book. Your
Yeah.
book is called SEL Muscle Memory. It
Mastery.
speaks volumes to what you were just talking about with the social emotional literacy. I love that. And I know that it offers, you said you're practical. I love that. I am all about practical strategies, tools, and things that we can use. So can you share any special little practical thing that teachers can take away from our time with you here?
Yeah, well, thank you for that. Yeah, so SEL Muscle Mastery is a book full of 6 tools that are practical. Try them on right now, watch them work, reframe them, things like how not to take things personal.
Love
And
that.
really right, we take everything personal. We pour our heart into a certain student who then just never will turn homework in,
Yep.
won't show up at lunch when we give up our lunch to be there for them and they don't show up. So then
Yep.
we take it personal that they don't care about us, they don't care about themselves. And really, what's happening is that child's just not showing up.
Mm-hmm.
They're not showing up to you. They're just not showing up for whatever the reason and the driving forces are in that child's world. That's why that child's not showing up, not because we are not showing up. So to
Mm-hmm.
give up on our commitment to show up because a kid won't is like what I call an adult temper tantrum. It's like a little bit
That's
of an
good.
ouch. Sorry, audience. Like it's a little bit of an ouch. Like, well, you're not doing it, so I won't either. But that is not serving our soul, right?
Right?
Another thing is to learn how to care for ourselves in a way that is beyond a bubble bath that people talk about. Some of us don't even have bathtubs. So what are we
Absolutely.
talking about a bubble bath, right?
Mm-hmm.
But asking for what we need rather than just sitting, this is such a sanity check for our teachers. If you go to the lunchroom every day and it's just like a cesspool of complaining, we go in hungry, we fill our bellies, we leave full in our bellies, but empty in our heart
Mm-hmm.
because all we've done is with our colleagues talked about that kid, that parent, that policy, that government, that boss, and literally, we're doing nothing to elevate ourselves into problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are a couple examples of the,
Mm.
couple of the tools in the book, how to reframe things that feel confronting to accountable.
Mm-hmm.
That's muscle two, power of I. How do we reframe a statement so that we don't actually create a power struggle just by opening our mouth?
Mm-hmm.
So so it's just a book of strategies that people say are practical,
Yeah.
approachable, and they're easy to start. And the invitation is to start small, start where you are, give yourself grace for that. You don't have to be good at anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
Just move towards it.
Yeah. Awesome. Lori, when you said at the beginning of this that you think that we may be kindred spirits in all of this, I have to agree. So much of what you're
Oh,
saying is just ringing so very true, and I love hearing it. So tell us where we can learn more about you and your book and your organization, All It Takes. Where's the best place to get in contact with you?
so for the book and a little bit about me, selmuscles.com.
Cool.
And then for our organization, and you can get to both through both websites, but the organization, allittakes.org.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty easy. Both of them are easy to find. My name's a mouthful, so you can find me. Just Google it. You can find it.
Excellent. And we'll put all the links inside the show notes as well, so people can just click and get to you. So that's wonderful. Hey, thank you so much for
Thank
spending
you
some
for
time with me and having this awesome conversation. I think we hit on about 100 different points and they were all so valuable. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I really appreciate being here and I love what you're doing. Yeah, our teachers need our support. And then our students need them to have our support. So it's
That's
a full trickle of, it's a ripple effect.
definitely, that's what it's all about. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, Lori.
Thank you.
Wow, what a powerful conversation, right? I hope you're walking away from this episode feeling just a little bit more seen, a little more hopeful, and a lot more equipped to support your students and yourself. Remember, you don't have to do it all. You just have to take that next step. And that might mean trying one simple SEL strategy, creating more space for connection, or even just taking a deep breath and giving yourself a little grace today. And if you're ready to dive a little deeper into building that caring classroom culture without the overwhelm, I'd love to invite you to check out the Classroom Reset. It's teacher-centered, creative, and it works with your teaching. Go to theinspiredclassroom.com/reset, RESET. Until next time, keep showing up with care, creativity, and that big teacher heart of yours. You are making a difference, and I'm so glad that you're here. I hope this episode inspired you, encouraged you, or gave you a fresh idea to try. And if so, I would love for you to take a screenshot and text it to one of your teaching buddies. I'm so grateful that you landed here with me today, and it would mean the world to me if you would leave me a review over on Apple Podcast. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll catch you on the next episode. This is Elizabeth Peterson reminding you to get inspired so you can be inspiring to your students and enjoy teaching again.